Before buying a watch, first you need to decide what you need it for. Is it a daily beater, a sports watch, a diver, pilot, or an elegant one? After choosing the right type of the watch, you need to deal with the size. Believe it or not, all of these watches are 42mm case size. But on the wrist, they look totally different. Some of them fit, some are, at least for my taste, too big and look a bit off. And this is why. Today, I'd like to point out some things regarding watch size, type and construction. First off, my wrist is 19 centimeters, and I found out that for this wrist size watches from 40 and 42mm hit that sweet spot for me. Also, I will show that there are some things that need to be taken into account when buying your next watch, so you don't make the same mistake like I did, and that is buying watches online before trying them on first. As I said, for my wrist it's 42mm case size, like this Breitling Super Ocean. It fits nicely, it looks in proportion with my wrist and all is well. But if I replace it with this Cartier, which is also 42mm, it visually looks much bigger than Breitling. It's of course because of the bezel that narrows down the size of the dial, making it look smaller on the wrist. So the dial size should be a factor to take into account when buying a watch. Now this Omega is also 42mm and it's true to its size. It has the middle-sized dial, but it has short twisted lugs, and that is another thing to have in mind when choosing a watch. It still looks good with its 42mm. Without the bezel, its short lugs compensate for that size. Unlike this Longines Spirit, it is also 42mm, but it has a large dial and long lugs, making it look bigger on the wrist. Especially as the bracelet looks like a continuation of the case, making the watch look like a big slab of metal. So, in this case, I should be looking for the watches, for example, also like Spirit, but in smaller size, like 40 or even 38mm case size, because of that long lugs. For example, you can see with this Hamilton khaki field on NATO strap. Usually 38mm is too small for my wrist. But because of the clean dial, without the bezel and long lugs on this watch, it feels and looks just fine. So if you're hunting for a new watch and choosing size for your wrist, these things should be considered. First off, case size. Then, is it with or without bezel, dial size and lugs length. For my 19cm wrist, best size of diver watches or chronograph watches is 41 or 42mm. For the field or pilot watches without bezel, 38 or 39mm, because, like in this case with Hamilton khaki field or Longines Spirit, they come with the long lugs. For the elegant or sport watches, size for my 19cm wrist should be 39, 40 or even 42mm, but it should lean to the smaller sizes. Lately I was avoiding watches over 43mm, but I should also mention ones over that size as well and compare these two, just to show how the case size should not be the deal breaker. I think that these two are somewhat excellent example of how you should not be tied to one particular size. The Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean and the Seiko Turtle. They both are 45mm, but Seiko has cushion case and smaller bezel, so it wears so much smaller than mentioned 45mm, and it is definitely not true to its size. Unlike Omega Planet Ocean, which is downright enormous and chunky watch. So the Seiko Turtle should be considered even if it is 45mm in size. And you may be thinking that is not for you and your 17 to 18cm wrist. So probably some of you already knew all of this. But for those who are just started building their watch collection and thinking of which watch could be the next one, some of these tips could be very useful in the future. Thank you for being with me, click on that subscribe button and I'll see you next time.